Title: Inside Story. I was with my son on the beach when he did this out of the blue. True infidelity story, safe version. One summer afternoon in Santa Monica, I decided to spend the day with my son, Daniel. The last few months had been stressful for our family. My husband, Richard, had been traveling frequently for work, and I often felt like I was carrying the emotional weight of the household. Daniel was 17, on the brink of adulthood, and I worried about the quietness that had taken over him. He wasn't the same lively boy who used to chatter endlessly about his favorite basketball games and comic books. He had grown distant, and I feared he was hiding something deep within. That morning, when I suggested we go to the beach together, Daniel looked surprised. He hesitated at first but then agreed with a small smile. I took that as a hopeful sign. I packed us a simple lunch, grabbed the old striped beach blanket we'd used since he was little, and we headed out in the car. The California coast greeted us with warm golden light, the air carrying a salty tang mixed with the laughter of children building sandcastles and the rhythmic crash of waves. We found a quiet spot near the rocks, away from the crowd, and spread out our blanket. Daniel sat with his arms wrapped around his knees, staring at the sea. I tried breaking the silence. "It's beautiful today, isn't it?" "Yeah," he muttered, barely looking at me. I could feel the wall between us, and it ached. For a while, we just sat in silence, watching surfers catch waves and toddlers run after seagulls. Then, out of the blue, Daniel turned to me with a look in his eyes I hadn't seen before, serious, vulnerable, almost frightened. "Mom," he said quietly, "there's something I need to tell you." My heart skipped. "Of course, honey. You can tell me anything." He took a shaky breath, digging his fingers into the sand. "I saw Dad with someone. Not long ago. At the cafe near my school. He wasn't alone. He was with a woman." The world tilted under me. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard right. What do you mean?" Daniel's voice cracked. They were sitting too close. Laughing in a way that didn't feel right. He was holding her hand. "Mom. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to hurt you." The roar of the waves seemed to grow louder. My chest tightened as his words sank in. Richard and I had been married for 20 years. We had weathered storms before, but this was something I had never prepared for. I reached for Daniel's hand. He was trembling. "Thank you for telling me," I whispered, though my throat was dry. "I'm so sorry you had to carry that alone." His eyes watered, but he quickly wiped them. I didn't want to break the family apart. But I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I hugged him tightly, the sand warm beneath us, the ocean endless before us. In that moment, I realized how much my son had grown. He wasn't just my child anymore, he was becoming a man, one who valued truth even when it hurt. The rest of the afternoon, we walked along the shoreline, letting the water wash over our feet. Daniel talked more openly than he had in months. He told me about the pressure he felt at school, about how lonely he had been without Richard around, and how seeing that moment at the cafe had shaken his trust. By the time the sun dipped low, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't ignore Daniel's words. That evening, after we got home, I waited for Richard to return. When he walked through the door, his smile faded as soon as he saw the seriousness on my face. I asked him directly about what Daniel had seen. His reaction, stumbling, fumbling for words, his face pale, was enough to confirm the truth. He admitted to spending time with a colleague, claiming it was nothing serious, just a mistake, but the damage was done. The weeks that followed were filled with difficult conversations, not just between Richard and me but also as a family. I told him how much his actions had hurt us, how it had forced Daniel to carry a burden no child should. Richard broke down, promising to change, promising to rebuild. Whether or not we could repair what was broken remained uncertain, but one thing became clear: that summer day on the beach, Daniel's courage had reshaped the course of our family's story. Months later, when we returned to the same beach, things weren't magically fixed, but there was progress. Richard was attending therapy, and Daniel had begun smiling more. We sat on the blanket together, not as perfect as before, but stronger in some ways. Because sometimes, the most painful truths open the door to healing if we dare to face them. And I would never forget that moment by the ocean when my son, out of the blue, gave me the truth I needed most.